Samantha Barron. Hi, Bob. Okay, I see you.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Extension.
Yep, the SNAP educator. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt and I were able to go help on that Habitat house last year. Hang some sheetrock.
Just so you two know, Ed and Bobby, we had sound and camera issues, so I just restarted the machine, and when this thing turns back on, then we'll get fired up again. All that perfect.
Thank you.
How's it look for you, River? Yeah, so that's what I just turned on now. It just came back online for me to do that.
I know it.
All the lights are on you, Samantha.
No pressure then.
Yeah, exactly. No big deal.
Yeah.
I did that, working at a funeral.
Literally.
Oh, don't stay straight. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Ladies, thank you very much. You sure have a great day. There you go.
No, you do the math.
Again? I'll do the math again.
No, I trust you. I trust you 100%.
Okay, we're back on, Mr. Chair. As far as, okay, that's not on.
No big deal.
Give me a minute here.
At least I got my taxes.
I think we're good.
Crank it up.
TV's homework.
Let's see, extension Sam.
Good, Mike.
All right, gentlemen, meeting will be back in order, and we have extensions.
All right.
Morning, Samantha.
Good morning, everybody. All right, so I'm just going to share a quick update. So this past year, I've kind of been trying to focus my work on two areas, the schools and food access. So with the schools, I've been doing my regular direct education. So that's my Go Wild classes. I've taught 9 so far this year. I'm still sharing out those flyer fitness calendars on a monthly basis to encourage that physical activity component, and then really focusing the strategy on developing the farm to school program and kind of getting that built up within the schools. We just started meeting. Our first meeting was early February, and I'm going to work with the new local foods educator, Lauren, I'm blanking on her last name, to look at possibly doing some local virtual farm tours. So the local farmers in the area, especially those that have been contributing to the farm to school meals. Like one example we talked about yesterday, for our first meeting is connecting with Brenda Rudolph with Raising a Farmer, doing kind of a virtual farm tour with her. She's usually been pretty good donating or not donating, selling her and working with the school on the protein portion, and then having that connection with the students, where their food's coming from, kind of keeping it brief so they can share it during Farm to School Month in October. So kind of working on the logistics of getting those videos kind of up and running and sort of what that would look like, and hopefully getting them videoed and edited and ready for school next fall already. So those are some of the projects kind of in the works, at least with Farm to School. Then we'll probably do our local meal, the Apple Crunch. Ron Welchard's been really good at donating apples. So working on all, continuing with that Farm to School and slowly helping to grow that program each year. I just got some teen cooking classes set up with the CEC class at the high school, and those are going to set up to start in March. And then with my partnership with SHIP and Public Health, we were focusing on the Little Falls School District to start, but just this year we started connecting with all the schools in Morrison County on all of our health initiatives and just connecting with them, well, okay, what are they doing? What can we do to help? And then just offering the current, resources and successes that have worked really well with Little Falls into the other schools, Piers, Royalton, Upsall, all those other schools within Morrison County. So that's slowly kind of trickling outside of Little Falls into the other schools. So I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like in the next coming years. So again, that's one of my focus areas is, the youth in schools, and then food access. I'm sure none of us are really surprised. It's a growing issue everywhere, so focusing some strategies on that. In November, I was able to pull together a lot of agencies and businesses that are working in food access around Morrison County and kind of forming a food access committee, and then coming up with strategies as a team, what they see as the gaps and what we can realistically work on. So one of the first things that came up, and this actually came up with the food access survey I put out 2 years ago, was education and marketing. A lot of people just don't know about the current resources. So we worked, since November, we've really worked on updating their food resource brochure and then pushing that out as much as we can and trying to find anywhere and everywhere that can share a food resource brochure. We actually do have quite a few good food resources in Morrison County. It's just a lot of the public doesn't know about it. So that's the easiest strategy, and one we hope will fill in quite a few of those gaps is just marketing and maybe looking at education and better marketing of our current resources, and then from there looking at the gaps. So the committee has actually come up with quite a few ideas that are probably maybe in a 5 to 10 year plan of how we can help to bridge some of those gaps with food access. But it's great. There's a lot of enthusiasm. I'm really excited to be working and leading on this team. And there's also the statewide food shelf survey coming out in April this year. They do it every three years. And so the next iteration is coming out this April, and it's really going to collect a lot of food information from food shelves on, what shoppers are looking for, what food shelf managers are struggling with. And that information gets piled in a statewide report, helps with, legislation and funding and everything. So I will be assisting with kind of getting those surveys collected and done, and that's going to be taking part probably, I believe the food shelf manager survey is going out this week, and then the shopper survey goes out in April. So I'm really looking forward to helping with those and seeing what kind of information comes out of those reports. So that's my kind of current, and then potential upcoming programming would be, I'm looking at doing some program with the farmers market this summer. There's a lot of programs that are coming up that, again, marketing people don't know about. We're trying to implement POP Plus. So we have POP at the farmers market already. That's the $2 token program for kids ages 4 to 18. They can go to the market, get a $2 token to use to kind of buy produce. We're implementing that for seniors called POP Plus. So the same concept, seniors can go to the market and then get a token, or I think we're using vouchers for seniors, so they look different, and then use that to buy produce and ideally encourage them to shop more at the farmers market. And in addition to that, also promoting the, I can never remember the acronym. It's FMNP, I think it's Farmers Market Nutrition Program. They just pushed it out last year, but it came out in July, and there wasn't a lot of good education and marketing around it. So a lot of seniors were getting these vouchers and not really knowing what they were for. So working on the education piece with that, I'm going to help with, because I think they're getting $30 worth of vouchers to spend at the farmers market, again, to encourage that healthy eating. So I'm going to work with the farmers market, and then I think the senior center is giving out the vouchers and that education piece. And then hopefully try to get a childcare training in the works, probably late spring as well. Since my school work will probably be slowing down, I'll have time for that.
Very good.
That's usually what I'm focusing on. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Just as a kind of a scene setter, I guess I should have said that as Sam came up, and a reminder to the board. Throughout the year, each of our departments are invited to come before the board at least to provide an annual report. And some departments come in and provide monthly, in person, as well as or on consent agenda. And for the extension department, they are also invited to provide that similar report to the county board. Their frequency is quarterly, and Sam is here in first quarter for the extension office as our SNAP Ed educator. So that's what brings her here for us, is just an information for the board.
Very good. Commissioner Wincher.
Just to give you some accolades, I met Dave Foley, he's the regional, I believe, up in Cloquet Regional Extension agent up there. He was just stating how well Morrison County Extension and the clubs and all that help other organizations within the state of Minnesota. And you guys are pretty much at the top here, including yourself and other educators. And again, I'm a 4-H guru, so I watch that pretty close. And you guys, is this the work that we do here? I'd say we're number one county in, of the quad, so I don't know if you have any.
I think we do really well with collaboration, because that's what you're really gonna see the most impact, is just that connection and collaboration. I'm really excited to be working with Lauren, the new local foods person. She seems to be excited to kind of just dive right into some of the projects as well.
So again, yeah, we had our extension meeting last night, so again, just things out that the county should know what goes on with 4-H extension, just not, the little clubs that they have, which are important too. And then our numbers are up for Clover Buds. I mean, everything is positive for 4-H for this year, so.
Very good. Thanks for sharing that, Commissioner. Commissioner Blaine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Samantha, at the Quad County meeting here a couple of weeks ago, I was there, and they had we had a wonderful presentation and education on the bird flu, and one of the interesting points, and I certainly did not forget this, but and you can't forget it because it's in your face daily in the news. The impact that the bird flu has on not only on the cost of poultry as a protein source for families, but especially in the dramatic increase in the price of eggs. And so the presenter there, who was fantastic at that Quad County meeting, had made the point to us there to educate us that eggs were a predominant source of protein in that SNAP Ed program. Do we have, and so going back to what you've just illustrated to us too, the importance of the farm to school program. Obviously, I understand certainly the importance the SNAP Ed program has out there especially to the youth. And to young families out there. Do we have some type of a hedge against that cost that helps us to be able to still utilize that as a protein source in that SNAP Ed program, like from maybe farms within our county at all, or?
Not that I'm aware of. Right now, I'm just, with the education piece at least, I'm just, educating on other low-cost proteins at the moment. Because, I used to say, eggs are great low-cost protein, but not currently at the moment. So just looking at, and I think we've had like a bird flu, God, was it early 2000s or wasn't there? So it goes in waves. There's always food recalls, and just, again, that education, being aware of what's available, and then also just shifting. And it's a great way also to get that variety in your diet. So eggs are great; they're generally low cost, but you want that variety anyway. So beans are a great protein source; they're always low cost. They rarely have a food recall.
Yeah, and with maybe, I don't know if it's right here in our area, but I know. In the metro area, you're limited, well, even in St. Cloud, you're limited on how many eggs you can buy. It's like you can buy an 18-pack, one per customer per for a visit or things like that. So there's limitations out there with the supply-demand issue, but I was curious about that in the efforts to meet those nutritional needs for these families out there, the impact that egg market is having on SNAP Ed.
Right now, I'm not aware of anything that's kind of supplementing that cost, but I'm just kind of just educating, okay, here's some other low-cost protein options that you can use, and then again, focusing on variety is key in your diet anyway, so.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And one more thing,
Commissioner
Mr. Chair. For a reminder for our administrator and yourself, we have 2 new appointees that are coming aboard. And if you want to get with our Matt about appointees in a couple of weeks, Commissioner Casper has one, and of course you do too. So those, something that we should make sure we get on the agenda for 2 weeks.
Sounds good to me. Got that, Matt? All right. Thank you so much for being here today, Samantha. We
Thanks, guys.
appreciate it very much.
Always
Thank
good
you.
to
Have a great day.
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Em.
Bless you.
Sorry.
I don't know if I can.
All right, extensions report, sheriff's office.
Did you?
So much for praising the sheriff. Then you open it.
Let's see here. Where's the sheriff? Is he on?
Good morning, Mr. Sheriff.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Goes my water. Hey, that's a good catch. No fumble. So yeah, we're gonna go over the month of January, 2025. I brought Tim Brumber with, our jail programmer. We talked about the rec program, Residents Encountering Christ. And I believe the last time I was here and we mentioned it, I was asked to bring Tim back so he can give a summary of it. Tim said he wants to sit through the whole report and just do a summary later, so if you guys are good with that, we'll just move forward.
Perfect.
Sounds good to me.
So you'll see the picture on the top, that's the rec program, which we'll come back to. The bottom photo, I always share photos, kind of highlights of the month, if you will. I post a lot of this, all of it on Facebook, our Morrison County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. So this was Mary of Lourdes School, Little Falls. It was Mrs. Trutwin's class. We got a invitation to attend, so we attended, and we just kind of talked about the profession of law enforcement. We answered questions, and all the students basically gave us donuts and some personalized cards, so
Oh, nice.
kind of a nice gesture. Moving forward, you'll see that we had complaints received. Number of complaints was 766. Criminal complaints was 42. We had 34 of those cases cleared. And then non-criminal complaints was 724. So this is my first time in front of Commissioner Moran, so I'll just kind of explain a little bit. The criminal complaints, that's just the complaints that law enforcement investigates. We're gathering evidence for the purposes of prosecution. And then the non-criminal complaints is like it doesn't involve a violation of criminal law. It could be like a deer or a car versus deer complaint or barking dog complaint, something like that, so. Civil process, you'll see we had 46 papers. We collected $800 and executions received was 391. So we serve all kinds of papers for the sheriff's office. We do legal papers, whether it's divorce, notice of hearings, could be order for protection, could be harassment restraining orders, could be summons and complaints, it could be subpoenas, things of that nature. That's kind of what that's all about there. The executions received, that's just money judgments against a person. So we get involved with that. Usually whether it's a bank or an employer, we get usually 4% of the amount that's collected, so. Drug investigations we'll tackle on one of the last pages of the report, and then highlighting our training, we had 10 officers attend coroner training. So every deputy is trained as a coroner. So when we go to death scenes, we're investigating the death scene is, we're trying to rule out foul play, things of that nature. We're taking our photos, we're doing our reports. And we're always having contact at every death scene with the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office. And so that's, they put on the training, the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office, and that's through Anoka. Basically, they're preparing deputies how to investigate complaints, the scene management, what to look for evidence. They talk about recognizing forensic evidence, things of that nature. So that's kind of a highlight of the training, and then moving on, you'll notice we had 42 criminal complaints for January 2025. I'll just highlight what we saw the most of. So the 3 o'clock position, it's the orange pie, if you will. We had 8 DWIs. 7 of those were alcohol, 1 of those was drugs, which in the past, the numbers were probably either 50-50 or a little bit more drugs versus alcohol. Doesn't really mean much, it's just what we saw that month. In the 6 o'clock position, you'll see the maroon pie, it's disturbing the peace. We had 5 complaints. And then the 9 o'clock position, we had thefts, there was 8 of them. We had theft from a fish house, theft from a vehicle, swindling, shoplifting, false representation, et cetera. So that's kind of the highlight of that. Moving on to our traffic citations, I looked up January of 2024, we had 220. January 2025, we had 271. So our numbers inclined a little bit there. Just to highlight that, we had 14 speeding citations issued, 203 verbal warnings, 18 written warnings, and then you'll see we had 14 DAR, which is driving after revocation. So the written warnings, you see a lot of that, and you're probably wondering, well, what's the difference between that and a verbal warning? Written warning's just more of it's more formal, I guess. It's kind of depends on sometimes the severity of the violation, whether or not somebody's a repeat offender, and sometimes it's just clarity, trying to explain on the ticket. It's a detailed explanation of what they're being stopped for. So, 2-year comparison, everything pretty much gone down. From 2024, you see 2025, everything kind of went down a little bit. Our drug investigation's gone down quite a bit. A lot of that, I looked into it, was us basically assisting the city of St. Cloud every time they needed something. So that's why the numbers went down quite a bit, because they're actually finding their own people, so our people can focus on our stuff here locally, which is a good thing. So the Central Minnesota Violent Offender Task Force, we belong with, it's Morrison, Stearns County, Benton County, and Sherburne County. And then there's investigators from St. Cloud Police Department as well as the Sartell Police Department. We did do some drug interdiction stops this last month in January. So what happens is you'll have 14 officers come, and we just kind of look at different residences that we're dealing with that we have problems with in our county. So we kind of work together and do drug interdiction. There might be one report, but we're dealing with 3 different things at one time. There might be 3 individuals with 3 separate charges, but it's considered one report. We also had a canine detected methamphetamine, where we had a couple stops with little under an ounce and one was over an ounce of methamphetamine. That kind of stuff doesn't go to our drug investigations numbers on the task force, but our guys do get involved and they follow up with the subjects when they're in custody. And we don't put everything public for a news release just because if we find out that this individual is gonna work with our drug task force, we don't wanna release names and anything like that, so. Going on to the jail, you'll see Morrison County, we averaged 20 inmates. Beltrami, we averaged 20. That has gone down, that average, as of recent. But our total inmates, if you count out-of-county inmates and the Beltrami inmates that we're housing, we average right around that 41 mark. Sentence to serve, unfortunately, that program hasn't been up and running for probably a year. We just don't have the individuals. It's gotta be ordered by the judge and then it has to be approved by the sheriff's office. A lot of times these people are in jail and their bails are high. Sometimes they might not be able to pass a medical because they have to be able to pass medical to go out and do these projects. Tim was saying a lot of times there's hold from other counties, so they might have another warrant in a different county, so they're not allowed to go out in our own county. But it's a statewide issue, it's not just here in Morrison County. Monthly Huber, we had 0, although there are people that do Huber, which means they have a job. The sheriff's office has okayed for them to go to their job, and then they have to prepay before they actually go to their job. And I believe it's 2 weeks in advance, and they have to pay $140, correct?
$140 a week, correct.
Or a week, okay.
Yep.
So that number, some months you'll see some figures, other months you won't. We didn't have anybody in the month of January. Booking fees, we collect $20 every time someone gets booked in as an inmate. We collected $812, and there were 60 inmates that got booked. Tim was explaining to me that sometimes if this individual gets booked and they don't have money, if they have $5 on them, we're taking what they got. And then if they have an account through us where someone puts money in their account, we'll seize that and try and get the full 20 at some point as well.
Correct.
Number of out-of-county inmates, we had 43, and we collected $35,420 for the month of January. Pay to stay, you have to pay $20. Did we crank that up to 25?
25 a day.
So now it's 25, it used to be $20 a day. So for an inmate to stay in Morrison County, they have to pay $20 a day.
25.
Currently 25,
Yep.
it used to be 20.
Yep.
So typically, we collect about 10% of that. A lot of these people, they don't have jobs, they don't have money, so we just kind of take what we get. And if we don't get the full amount, it goes over to collections. And then they'll seek the payment at some point. That's about it in a summary. I'll answer any questions, and then I'll turn it over to Tim.
Any questions for the sheriff? Commissioner Casper?
Just a simple question, Sean. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see 43 out-of-county inmates. Can you tell us what it was a year ago? Do you have any idea what those numbers are doing?
I can get back to you with that. I don't have it off the top of my
Okay.
head.
Very well,
I
thank
do
you.
know I'll be coming forward to the board with a new contract from Beltrami. Their contract ends, I believe, April 1st of this year.
Okay.
So we've been in negotiations and kind of talking about it. So we have a plan ready, and we're going to submit to you, I believe, the next planning session.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Winter?
I like the numbers, the 35,000 for the month, that's good for the whole year. Bringing up Beltrami, Mr. Chair, they're building a jail, right? And when is the completion of that? And again, if we get a, just throw that out there, please.
Yeah, I don't have exact numbers, Commissioner. I do know they're in the process of building the jail. I know that they were good with a 2-year contract with us again, so I'm thinking maybe year 3, they're thinking about moving in for completion, but I could be wrong on that exact date. But I do know we talked them into a 2-year contract, and we're good for 2 more years for sure.
Beginning April 1st.
Commissioner Moran?
I just read a article this morning, state prisons gonna start kicking people out and shutting down too, huh? They're falling apart and,
Yeah, it's a touchy subject, Commissioner. I reviewed the same thing. So in Morrison County, we have a DOC, Department of Corrections inspector that comes through. And even though there's nothing wrong with our jail, piping, plumbing, everything's fine, we still get noted on our inspection that due to the age of your facility, start planning, start thinking in the future. And then as I read this article, you probably reviewed the same thing. It sounds like there is some issues. So, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how that works.
one comment they said is that the early release for a lot of these people, and we know too that prosecutors just aren't putting people in jail anymore.
That is true, and a lot of people are getting probation versus the jail time. Yes, sir.
Do you see that changing, or is it just a trend that's gonna continue to?
I don't know if I see it changing. I would think at some point it may. For us, we believe that if you need to be accountable, and if you gotta do time, you should be doing your time. But, it's some people do rehabilitate, but others need to be locked up. That's just the bottom line.
Commissioner Blaine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sheriff Larson, with the county's efforts and the region's efforts on on the war against illicit drugs and that. And with the federal government, this administration's dramatic push to find these individuals and incarcerate or ship them out. I was curious if you've had correspondence or contact with ICE, and if those efforts, those strong efforts spearheaded by the federal government, are finding their way here to help us out in our area.
So Commissioner, to answer that, we've always had a good relationship with our federal partners. We're always communicating. Sometimes the topics of communication switch, but our primary goal is just to uphold the law and ensure public safety. So we believe that working and collaborating with our federal partners is the way to go. Now, that doesn't mean, if we bring up the topic of illegal immigration, there's been a lot of complaints, I shouldn't say complaints, a lot of concerns and a lot of questions as to how is the sheriff's office going to deal with this. And my thing is, what I tell people is that at the end of the day, it's not like our office is doing raids. We are not going door to door, farm to farm, looking for these individuals. However, we also don't have the authority to act as an immigration official. We have to follow state law, they're following federal law. But I would not hesitate to work with them in the capacity where they say, hey, we need assistance, we have a violent criminal, can you help us? Because I think my job and our job is to keep our county safe, and if we're gonna do that, that means we have to work together, if that answers your question.
Yeah, very, very good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Brummer, good morning.
Morning. Morning, everybody. We had Rec 53 last month, January 11th and 12th. We had 24 offenders that went to the program and completed it. We had over 40 volunteers in the jail. It started Saturday morning about 7:15 in the morning and went till about 8:30 Saturday night, and then about the same on Sunday. So it was a long weekend. We had a lot of fun. It was good. The offenders learned a lot from it. Can we put the slides up and I'll go over I wanted to talk a little bit about this is a packet that every inmate gets from the rec program volunteers that come in here. And I just wanted to go through that a little bit. We get it set up there. The first slide there, that's a healing prayer. So they get a healing prayer that they're supposed to pray at bedtime. And when Monday morning comes following the rec, the jail on Friday was up here, and on Monday it's here. Everybody's mellow, they're happy, they're relaxed. They had time to talk about all their problems throughout the weekend, the things they need help with, getting God into their life and opening up to these volunteers that come in here and do a phenomenal job running this program. This rec program is so good. If we can go to the next slide, please. That's just a picture of God. And then on the back of that, there is some reading scripture that the offender gets, and they can read through that. And there's Ministry to the Suffering address down on the bottom. They can write to that and get more literature, more help on that. I'll cover this kind of quickly. The next slide, if you would. That's the Residents Encountering Christ. There's some information on there. And then the tech program on the bottom. The tech programs run through the Belle Perry Church. I think everybody knows that. Daryl and Bev Welly are the coordinators. They run this thing, and it's done in 7 different counties in Minnesota, in our area. It's Morrison County, Douglas, Stearns, Benton, Otter Tail, Mille Lacs, and then the Minnesota Correctional Facility in St. Cloud. And our Central Minnesota Rec program is run through the St. Cloud Diocese. So they fund it, insure it, set it up, etc. And then the Wellies are the coordinators for our jail. They have been ever since it started over 30 years ago. So they do that. If you could go to the next slide, and that's the What that is a mini reunion. So the following Friday night after the rec program, about half of the volunteers come back. We bring all the inmates up that went to the rec program up into the classroom. We do singing, we do prayer, we do little testimony, we have cake, water, etc. And the jail inmates love it. It's a chance for them to reenact with everybody, talk about their week, how their week went, and just kind of unwind and unfold a little bit. It works really well. And then the next slide, if you would, please. That's the inmates can write to the wheat team. Now, the wheat team, I got to explain this a little bit, is about 10 volunteers and usually 1 or 2 former inmates that have went to a rec before. They're in a different part of the jail. What they do is they help set up the meals, they help with the artwork, the drawings, the testimonies that are going to be done, the music, etc. They're kind of workers is what they are. They're almost servants to all the other volunteers and the inmates. So that's kind of neat, and they can write to them about whatever they want. That's their business, and then the wheat team will write back to them, and they can stay in contact that way. And some of these people stay in contact, the inmates, with rec members for years afterwards. It's amazing. It is just amazing. And then the last page is kind of the same thing. This is for all the inmates. They can write to anybody on the rec team they want about whatever they want. If they need a Bible, if they want to visit, if they want help looking for a job, whatever, they can stay in contact with the rec team and do that. And so I just want to talk about that a little bit. And then in their packet, every one of them gets a cross that the wheat team makes for them. And on the back of the cross, it says, Christ is counting on you. And I can go through these cell blocks 6 months later, and inmates that have went to this rec, they will still be wearing these crosses. It is amazing how it hits a lot of these inmates. It is so important. This program is huge. Can't emphasize enough how important it is to our inmates, our community. I see the rec volunteers all the time in the public. They're just ecstatic about it. They'll come up to me and visit, give me a hug. Thanks. It's so neat. It's a super program. And then the very last slide there is a certificate of completion. Every inmate gets a certificate of completion. It shows that they went to the rec program here in our jail, the dates on it, and it's signed by the 2 rec coordinators, Daryl and Bev Welly, and that's theirs to keep. It's theirs forever to keep. So a lot of these rec people come in on every Wednesday night and do a church program. We got 18, 20 inmates going up to this classroom. We're packing this classroom because it's hitting them. It's helping them. It's helping them. It's getting them to accept Christ, and try to get their skeletons out of the closet, get rid of their demons, and give them the right guidance and what they need going forward. And it's huge. And I'm so proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to share it with you guys and the sheriff. He is so supportive of it. Matt and I talked about it in length the other day. We had lunch together. It's I can't say enough. It's just great. And the next one's coming up July 12th and 13th. That'll be Rec 54. So that one's coming up. So if anybody has any questions, comments, I'd love to answer them.
Commissioner Wincher.
Again, I gotta tell the sheriff, I appreciate how he supports this, but Tim, most of all you. But I am just amazed of the volunteers that you have for this program. And my question would be, how does one want to become? If I want to, become a volunteer, who do I reach out to? I mean, 40 some already. I don't know how many volunteers you can have, but that's amazing.
You would contact Daryl and Bev Welly. They are the coordinators for the program. They set up the volunteers, then they give me the list, and I do background checks and all the checks I need to do, because I have to make sure who's coming into our facility is people that we know are not going to cause a problem, because it's going to fall on me if it does.
And when you say Bev Welly, that doesn't mean much to me, because, is she in the phone book? Is she in? I understand
Yeah,
that.
if you want to just reach out to me, and I will get her all her
That's what I'm looking for.
information.
If
Absolutely.
somebody would want to do that.
Yep.
So.
I'd be glad to help you with that, absolutely. And
not
encourage
only-
it.
the people out there in TV land too, you know?
Yeah.
They're the ones that may want.
Yeah, anybody can contact me right at the jail, and I will get them pointed in the right direction, and, yep, they're looking for volunteers. And that's not because they don't have enough volunteers. And it doesn't matter if you're Catholic, what religion you are. They're gonna tell you this, it's open to everybody. There's one God. We all worship him, and we're gonna work as a team. So, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
If Tim wants me to say this or not, but he did put in his resignation. It's not till June. I hope that we can find somebody just as motivated as this guy to continue this program on, because it's very important to Morrison County and to you guys. And I just want you to know that. I believe that this program shows not only our facility, but Morrison County in a whole, how we actually care for inmates, and we're looking more at the reform versus the punitive measures. So I just want to thank Tim, our entire staff, and all the volunteers, because that's definitely what makes this program to keep going, so thank you.
Very good. And I want to thank you, Sheriff, for allowing Tim to do this rec program. It's always nice seeing Tim come here with his enthusiasm and his empathy he has towards the inmates. And Tim, if you help one, that's a home run.
It is,
And,
it's a grand slam.
Yeah,
No doubt, it's a
you
grand
should be
slam.
proud of the work you do, and I remember when you took over this position, and you're a rock star. So thank you for that. Gentlemen, Commissioner Casper.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I want to tell you guys thank you for what you do there. You will never know this side of eternity how big a difference you are making in these people's lives. I know a number of them that will never be the same after coming through. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. And Tim, no, you can't retire. So that was easy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We just
Thank you,
won't post
guys.
his job.
There you go.
It is
There
a
you
great,
go.
it is a great program. It's great to see how things start on Saturday morning, and then you get to about late in the day Saturday, how it's went from here to here, and then Sunday, it's like, they're all singing, they're all doing testimony, they're all doing their artwork. It's amazing how you pull that many offenders together with volunteers. And like Commissioner Lemire said, if you help one, it's a grand slam. It's true. We want to help them all. We want to help them all. I tell every one of them, just because you're in here doesn't mean your world is ended. We're going to get through this. You're going to get out. And it's what you do when you go forward, when you get out of here. It's going to make you you. If you take this and use it, it'll help you. It'll do a tremendous amount of difference for you. That's what we try to get into. And it's worked. It's worked with a lot of them. It's worked with a lot of offenders over the years. It has.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming here today. It's always nice to see you. Yeah,
You as
thank
well.
you, Sheriff.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good day, everybody.
God bless you, gentlemen.
God bless.
All right, Administrator's report.
I have nothing for the board, Mr. Chair.
All right, gentlemen, you got anything? No. Committee reports.
Okay. March 2nd through March 15th.
Randy, you want to hit off?
I sure can, Mr. Chair. March 2nd, on the 4th, there's a planning session at 8:30 here. There's budget afterwards, and I believe there's no planning commission or board of adjustments that evening, so there will be nothing on the agenda for that one.
On the 4th?
On the 4th, yep. Is it?
Back on.
What's
And
back on?
I tried to put it on all your calendars. Sharon emailed.
Sharon, need another email, would you please?
Yep, I can forward it to you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I looked there, will be a planning commission again at 6 o'clock on the 4th. TSWAC, again, that's at the landfill, that's at 8:30 on the 7th. On the 11th, we'll have a county board meeting here at the courthouse at 9 o'clock. And I'm not for sure, it's the township's annual meetings for, they vote for their supervisors, and the elections are on that day. And normally they start, again, the townships that I represent start at 5 o'clock to vote in for supervisors. They go till 8:15, so that's.
What date is that, Randy?
That's on the 11th. So I'm assuming if it's mine, the rest of your townships are gonna be that way too, so. so
Township
the-
election day.
Township election day on the 11th of Tuesday. And then otherwise that, you have, what I, so far, so I'm good.
Thank you, Commissioner Winter. Commissioner Moran?
Monday, March 3rd, a public safety meeting here, 6:30 in the evening. And this coming, the 5th, Wednesday, there's a drainage conference in Wilmer that I'll be going to. And then if anyone's interested, this Friday, Isaac Schultz will be in Piers, Minnesota. If anybody would like to talk to his state rep, the 8:30 a.m. at Piers City Hall.
That's on the 28th?
Yes.
Is that all you got?
Yep.
All right. They mentioned the budget meeting on the 4th, correct? Okay, and then I have employee breakfast meeting with Jenny Sanders. I don't know if you're supposed to be with me or not, but
Yep, that's that same day.
that's following the budget meeting. And then following the budget meeting, or no, following the employee breakfast, Commissioner Casper and I have AIS grant application review. Whenever the employee breakfast one is done, so. if you
Put it
want-
down for 10 o'clock, Tabitha, and then the location be Land Services Office.
And then at 6 o'clock that evening, I'll be attending the pipeline safety meeting in Baxter, Minnesota. On the 4th, yep. 7th, TSHWAC. 10th is a Yellow Ribbon Committee meeting, 3:30, Little Falls Legion. And that should do it for me.
Okay.
Commissioner Blaine.
I have nothing to add.
Commissioner Casper.
Okay, I want to make mention that I have a virtual meeting that's been canceled canceled on March 6th, Thursday. So that's been canceled. And also, March 11th, Community Development Meeting, that one's canceled as well.
Okay.
And on the 13th, Thursday, March 13th, at 6:30, Camp Ripley Veterans State Trail, right at the Little Falls City Hall. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Casper. Commissioner Winter?
Yeah, and to follow up on the 4th for the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, what I'm reading here, there is no Planning Commission, but there is a Board of Adjustment, and that's for Pike Creek Town Hall, or Pike Creek Township. So that
All
would-
time you get some work to do at night. I'm just kidding. All right, is that it, gentlemen, for that? Anything else? I got something. I got some trivia. Whose birthday is it today?
Of Morrison County.
That's right.
Yeah.
169 years today. Thanks to Tabitha for reminding me, or us. Privileged to be a part of Morrison County, and I'm privileged to be in the footsteps of those that came before us. I think I truly believe we have one of the greatest counties within Minnesota, and I'm privileged and honored to be a part of it, and I'm privileged to stand side by side with you gentlemen to make it a better community for our constituents. Anything else? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.
Good job, Mr.